Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to invite Dr. Max von Egmond, our most recent graduate, to say a few words. Dr. von Egmond.
Chers amis de la musique, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be invited to speak to you here today. My special gratitude goes to Chancellor Sternberg, Vice Chancellor and Principal Professor Monroe Bloom, Provost Professor Dr. Massey, and Dean Professor Ferguson. For decades, I have appreciated personal and musical contacts with Professors John Grew and Hank Knox, the latter also within the context of early music ensembles. Et parmi ces ensembles se trouvent plusieurs d'origine francophone, avec lesquels, en plus de bons concerts, j'ai pu améliorer mon pauvre français. Et ça, plus qu'en France, où, à l'époque, on trouvait moins d'ensembles baroques qu'ici. But, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to principally address my future colleagues, the students here, who are on the threshold of their careers. If I would ask you, how does one become a good musician, you would probably answer, under the wings of this famous university, and that is very true. However, deep inside, you will know that the most basic requirement was not provided by you or your teachers. Obviously, the musical talent you were born with was your main requirement. And in the case of us singers, a well-sounding instrument built in free of charge. Why is it that exactly here, in this special part of the new world, I'm receiving this honor? After all, I have been lucky to perform in most parts of the world. But indeed, the ties with Canada are many and they are strong, not only for me, but for my country as a whole. No Dutchman who has lived through the Second World War will ever forget that the liberation from the Nazis of our small country was mainly fulfilled by the Canadian Army. Monuments and military cemeteries in Holland remind us of the heroism of Canadians within the Allied forces. Moreover, our future Queen, Juliana, found refuge in Ottawa during the Second World War, and our Princess Margriet was born here. And as a token of our gratitude, the Dutch government installed an organ in the National Arts Centre in Ottawa, built by the renowned Dutch organ builder Flentrop from Zaandam. As appreciative as we musicians are with this gift, a more generally accessible token of appreciation in the form of 1 million tulip bulbs goes to the parks of the Canadian capital every year to this present day. To tell you the truth, that gives me a better feeling than that less agreeable agricultural leftover from Holland called the Dutch elm disease, about which I learned at school. Luckily, that seems to be ancient history. Mais certains de mes liens avec le Canada sont d'une autre nature, plus personnelle. Mon premier voyage, comme l'a dit professeur Ferguson, vers l'Amérique du Nord était en 1967, quand j'ai chanté dans le cadre de l'Expo de Montréal. La deuxième visite était pour une tournée de récital avec les jeunesses musicales dans de nombreuses villes et villages au Québec et dans d'autres provinces. Et, en plus d'avoir développé de nombreuses amitiés avec des musiciens, j'ai aussi trouvé ici à Montréal mon partenaire de vie. However, all this is nostalgia from an old man. Let me get back to you, young virtuosi, performers of the near future. You may want to know about my first attempts, about those who taught and inspired me. There were, of course, many of those, but the foundation of my career was laid by those two Baroque pioneers, Gustav Leonhardt from Amsterdam and Nicolas Harnoncourt from Vienna, also already mentioned by Dean Ferguson. It was in the late 60s of last century that these two masters, were about to depart on the gigantic project to record all the vocal works by Bach. Then Telefunken, now Sony Classical, brought forward my name for the baritone solos. And for this I owe eternal gratitude to Herr Wolf Erichsson from Hamburg, who was then the artistic manager for the record series Das Alte Werk. At that time, however, the conservatories did not yet have an early music department, let alone one as flourishing as yours, led by Professor Hank Knox. Nor was I specifically prepared for Bach and contemporaries, but Harnoncourt and Leonhardt had faith in me and I tried to learn from them. That, however, went differently from what you might think. In fact, they taught me nothing. That is, not directly. After all, they were no singers, and consequently hesitant to give me directions. So what did I do? I observed their numerous rehearsals with their ensembles, Concertus Musicus and the Leonhardt Consort. I absorbed the instrumental vocabulary that they were using, and bit by bit, I translated those in vocal concepts for myself, concepts that I could later carry on to the younger generations of singers. Through those intensive pedagogical proceedings, I kept in touch with young, responsible musicians of constantly renewing generations. In fact, it kept me young at heart. And it made me optimistic about the future of music, a promising future that you represent. Ladies and gentlemen, with all my heart, merci infiniment.